Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Charge from the EV Geek Podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and today, January 31st, 2025, we've got a handful of topics on the docket, including some interesting news about Hardware 3 cars, the death of a car in the US, some cool supercharging stuff, and a couple other topics. So without further ado, let's plug in and get started. All right, so our first topic of the night is that Elon has announced the death of Hardware 3. So this was previously hinted at, but in this week's Tesla earnings call, CEO Elon Musk confirmed that Teslas with Hardware 3 will not be able to move on to current and future branches of FSD. So during the earnings call, Musk stated that Tesla would replace the Hardware 3 systems on cars for those who had purchased FSD outright. During the call, he stated he was glad that not many people had bought it, as the retrofit would be quite expensive to perform. That said, there has been talk that Tesla does continue to try to add features to Hardware 3 cars as far as FSD goes. For example, I believe we're now on like 12.6, which has been kind of quoted as a V13 Lite-ish. But it's still interesting to see that they're just kind of coming out now and just saying, yeah, they can't do it. Especially since we've been hearing since 2016 that your car will be able to drive itself unsupervised or whatever. And now it's like, maybe not.
Yep. So yeah, I'm on version 12.61.
Okay.
So here's the key when you said something. In cars that FSD was purchased, I didn't purchase FSD with my car. It came with it when I bought it used. So do I get it or not?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Because that's a lot of people out there. A lot of people have bought used cars. Our buddy sells them that have FSD on them. They didn't buy them, but it's on the car. So do I get upgraded to Hardware 4 or not?
Interesting.
I mean, we all kind of saw this coming, and we all kind of know. I mean, anytime you're dealing with older software, you have to... at some point you can only do so many updates on an old iPhone, and then you have to get a new iPhone. I mean, that's just how technology works. So I know before he said, we may never have to upgrade to Hardware 3 to Hardware 4 because it can work, and now we're saying we have to. I mean, it sucks because you may be in situations like me to where you didn't purchase it and still may not get it. So yeah.
And it's important to, this is more than just the computer.
Yeah.
They're going to need to probably replace cameras I guess they're not using sensors anymore, so just cameras. But, replace all the cameras on the car, assuming that if you assume that they are all the same wiring harness, that might not be too bad with their different wiring harnesses, and it gets pretty advanced pretty quick for all the moving parts on this. So, I mean, if they do actually end up going through and doing the retrofits like they seem to say they will, great, but I still feel a little bit of skepticism that it will happen or that it will happen in a timely manner.
Yeah, and if I'm assuming this is something that you would have to take it to the service center for, which for me, it's a 2.5 hour drive, and it's probably going to be hopefully not more than a day. And if it does, do I get a loaner? Do I get a rental? Do I have to worry about my own transportation back? So yeah, there's a lot
of... They give you a loaner to then drive 2.5 hours home in, and
yeah. So that's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they've realized that, hey, we can't run unsupervised full self-driving on Hardware 3 cars, or not effectively. We're going to need to upgrade to Hardware 4. There's a lot of cars out there with Hardware 3 on them. A lot
but
that have
apparently
FSD.
Not that many that purchased FSD.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I keep getting back to. Like, what do you mean purchased? That's a very vague term.
I interpret purchased as you paid full price for, like, your car has FSD lifetime on it, right?
Yeah. I'm not paying the monthly subscription.
Interpret it. You're not paying a subscription.
Yeah.
So my interpretation would say that you would get a hardware update, but who knows? My interpretation might not be Elon's interpretation.
Yep. I'll let you know. I will do a live podcast episode whenever it happens, and I get a little email or something that pops up and says, schedule your appointment today for Hardware 4 update, or check yes or no.
I'm sure you'll have to ask. I'm sure they're not going to just go out and willingly start scheduling people.
It's so easy to call Tesla customer service too. I mean, it's a breeze.
Anyway, on the subject of things I'm skeptical of, let's move on. Tesla has announced the concept of a plan for a robotaxi service. So during this week's Tesla earnings call, Musk also announced that Teslas will be in the wild with no one in them in June in Austin. That's a direct quote there. So the system is expected to be an autonomous ride-hailing service like Waymo. The initial launch is going to be using Tesla-owned vehicles, and the idea of using your own vehicle as a robotaxi is eventually,
Yes.
maybe. Tesla is also planning to launch this service in a geofenced region in Austin, Texas, and they have ambitious goals of spreading like wildfires, it sounds like, in a very quick period of time. We'll see.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of detail here other than they're saying like June. We'll see. Again, is that June in real time or is that June in Elon time?
Yep.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
But yeah, this one's, it's like cool, welcome, but could you imagine if any other, like, how would Tesla stands or Tesla, like, your Tesla shareholders or whatever that seem to be the people on Twitter that say Tesla can do no wrong or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to bash Tesla here. I'm just trying to be realistic. Okay.
You like driving them. I own one. We're not Tesla bashers. We're just reporting.
We're just being realistic here.
Yes.
If this was not Tesla planning to announce a robotaxi service, but let's say Uber, and they're going to come out and be like, it's going to be geofence or whatever. How would Tesla shareholders respond to that information?
Yeah.
Like, how do they treat, Waymo or these other services? Which
already operates in Austin?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is just Tesla's. Now, Tesla's doing it in, I presume, Model Ys and Model 3s, using cars that, existing hardware, whatever. They're not slapping big LiDAR dishes on the top or whatever, which, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a technological advance for sure.
Yep.
But ultimately, they're saying they're going to do it in a geofence region. This is kind of the same vibe. There's a lot of stuff going on from this week. Tesla talking about how cars on factory floors are now, once they're done being produced, they just drive themselves to where they need to go on the lot, which is great. That's super cool. That's pretty easy to account for.
Yeah. If
your cars are only ever going to drive to certain positions, whatever, that's pretty easy to programmatically map out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm not saying that's not like a super cool feature, but it's not really. It's full self-driving, but like there's no stoplights and pedestrians. You know what I mean? It's cool, but like, yeah.
does it take into account like, oh, there's a wreck at this intersection, I need to reroute myself and go somewhere else and things like that? Or does it stay there and get caught up in traffic? So yeah.
I mean, we don't know because it's not real yet. So
we tried to do a Waymo in Austin, but couldn't get one when we were down there for Electrify Expo. So I'll be curious to see how this works. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty small area. But the question is timeline. Is it June? Is it 2026? So I'll be curious about it. I think it'd be pretty cool. I would love to go to Austin and ride in one. I think it'd be a cool idea. But yeah, I think it's a cool idea, and just we'll see if they can work through the bugs and the logistics to get it to work.
Yeah. Moving on, let's talk about something that's not Tesla for a minute. The Volkswagen ID.7 is dead in the U.S. Womp womp.
Another car
after delaying the ID.7 in the U.S., Volkswagen announced this week that the model would just not be coming to the U.S. The ID.7 is an electric sedan originally revealed in 2023. This model launched in Europe pretty quickly after. However, its launch has been delayed in the U.S. due to market conditions. Now that it's been canceled, Volkswagen is still touting an ongoing challenging EV climate as the reason for the cancellation. In the US, the ID.7 was expected to launch with a 77 kilowatt-hour battery pack, delivering around 300 miles on a range on a full charge. This doesn't surprise me. Volkswagen canceled it because it's a sedan, and sedans already make up a tiny portion of the US car market, and it was expected to cost like $50,000 to $60,000 for a Volkswagen sedan that got 300 miles of range, and I'm not surprised. Yep. Even if they did launch it, I don't think it would have sold very well. So, kind of save themselves the headache.
Also heard rumors, and this not sure, not due to the possible tariffs being initiated by the new administration, that they could possibly bring Audi and Porsche over to be built at the Tennessee plant. So
yeah, there's been some talk about that. Who knows?
Yeah, so I don't know if this has something to do with it, because if they're planning on making these in Tennessee and they got to make room for something else, but just Volkswagen, what are they doing? I mean, they have.
hey, the Taycan's cool.
Yeah, Porsche and Audi, solid EVs, but I don't know what Volkswagen's doing. So I mean, they have the ID4, which is still. I think they just finally found a fix. Was it to the door handles? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think they finally miraculously found a fix to that. Those aren't selling really well. You have the Buzz, which looks cool, but that's kind of a niche market. You're not going to sell 50,000 of those a year. So I don't know what their plans are in the U.S. market, because every other automaker seems to be moving forward. I mean, GM, they just came out with the Optic, and they just keep releasing more stuff in the IQ, and it hurts my head, Sebastian, thinking about this. Because we talk about it, I just don't know what they're doing. Would someone come on and tell us what you're doing? Or if someone knows what they're doing, put it in the comments below so we know. They just don't seem to have a plan. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe,
I mean, in this case, though, it's one of those situations where Volkswagen hasn't been a major seller in the United States for a long time.
Yep.
The U.S. is not really Volkswagen's bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
They are huge. Volkswagen's a massive company. They have 17 bajillion brands underneath them or whatever. And, I mean, they do really well in Europe. That's kind of where they go. And in Europe, they have the ID3, the ID4, the ID, I think there's a 5. They have the ID7, the ID, but like they have all these other models, that they're selling in Europe, because it's easy to sell them in Europe because they build them in Europe or whatever.
They're housed in Europe, yes. So yeah.
Yeah, it's easy for them to sell cars in Europe because that's where they're from. But when you start bringing in U.S. and U.S. geopolitical issues and importing, and do you build them here? Do you build them overseas? Where do you get your batteries from? Blah 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 blah. Yep. Like it's a hard thing to do.
It is,
especially when you then consider if you're not going to be the major seller or major player in the space, because Volkswagen historically hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
Even like, yeah, there's the Passat and the Jetta, which were both good cars, but they weren't like your predominant sedans, right? You were buying Chevy Malibus, Toyota Camrys, whatever. You weren't buying Jettas and Passats.
Honda Accords, yeah. So yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the Tiguan is a good SUV, but you see more CRVs and RAV4s than you see Tiguan. It's just kind of the thing. If you already know you're going to kind of be more of a background player, and you don't have the advantage of being able to at least charge like a luxury premium for your vehicles like they do for Audi or Porsche, is it worth going through the effort to launch these models?
Yeah, I mean, then just, I kind of agree with you there, but then just kind of just say, you know what, we're pausing. We're going to have the ID4 and the Buzz, and that's it. And they can rely on their other models. They can rely on Audi and Porsche and all them, and to bring cars over here, the more the luxury brand, and fine. I mean, that's fine with me. I just quit announcing stuff and then saying you're not doing it. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. I'm not asking for much.
Don't get us excited and
Don't
say,
get us excited and say, nah, we're just kidding with y'all. We're just playing. Psych.
Dangle it right in front of you.
Psych.
All right, let's move on to a topic about something that's pretty cool. We're going to talk about Lucid Gravity and Supercharging.
Okay.
So Lucid this week announced that its Gravity SUV is going to gain Tesla Supercharger access today, January 31st. Lucid also took this as an opportunity to show off the cool tech they're going to use that will allow the Gravity to charge well on the Supercharger network. So the Lucid Gravity is currently one of the highest voltage cars in the United States market. It operates at 926 volts. Tesla Superchargers, as have been famously, discussed, at least, V3, V3.5, 3 plus, whatever you want to call it, they top out around 500 volts when they charge. We've seen this already kind of talking about Hyundai Kia stuff. Hyundai Kia cars will do like 240 kilowatts when you plug them into a 1,000 volt capable charger, but then they only pull like 100 kilowatts on a supercharger. Lucid has worked out around this. They're going to use the rear motor as a voltage booster. So a lot of EVs get around the high voltage, low voltage charging issue by doing what's called a split pack. So like in the GM cars, for example, that have the 20 module and 24 module packs, you have, they're stacked like this, and so the 20 modules are two 10 module packs on top of each other. When they are charging, they'll link together to 800 volt, but if they aren't on an 800 volt charger, they stay split in a 400 volt config. Joel, you're muted.
There we go. That's what the Cybertruck does, correct?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. I was coughing. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
So the Gravity, however, is going to use the rear motor as a voltage booster. Now, it's important to note, the Gravity is probably doing it the best, but they're not the first one to do this. This is actually what EGMP cars do as well. However, the Gravity was able to use its rear motor to boost voltage and charge at 225 kilowatts on these 250 kilowatt Tesla supercharger stations, which is pretty dang good. Hyundai Kia are doing the voltage boosting stuff on their EGMP cars, but they're only able, maxing out at like 100, 110, 120 kilowatt.
97 for me, buddy. 97.
Yeah. Well, the newer stuff with the bigger batteries, higher voltage, whatever.
They make it over 100, yep.
And I think the 2025 Ioniq 5s, they've done some tweaks on them, the rear motor, to let it boost higher. But still not this high.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty sweet how they're able to do that. Because then, they're still proud to talk about, if you plug it into a charger that supports up to 1,000 volts, you can do 400 kilowatts. Which is spicy. I mean, that might not have anything on some of these, new Chinese EVs. Like, I think I don't remember the Zeekr model that I saw the video on today, where it did 0 to 100% in 22 minutes.
Ooh,
on a 75 kilowatt hour pack. But
that's where we need to get to eventually.
Yeah, and I think it was 10 to 80 in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
But this is still impressive. I think that should be the highest number that we currently have in the US on a vehicle is 400 kilowatts. As a reminder, the Gravity is one of the very first non-Tesla EVs to ship with a native NACS port. Which, now that they've announced this, it makes more sense. But when they first did this, there was the big question mark was, oh, well, the biggest NACS native charging network in the car can't charge the car. It can, but it won't. It probably won't charge it well. And so it's cool to see Lucid actually kind of come out with, this is how it works. This is what you can do. It's just, I thought it was cool to see how they're going to use the tech.
So yeah, I'm glad. I mean, if you're going to have that kind of architecture, you're going to have to need the fast charge, like you said, the EGMP cars. I mean, they do it, but it doesn't do it correctly. I mean, when I had supercharger racks, like I said, for that 4 days when it slipped for a while and I could do it, I peaked at 97, but I was getting 97 kilowatts at 80%. I was getting 97 kilowatts from
it just sat flat
55 to 80%, which is at that peak more than you would get on a Tesla. Tesla would already be dropped below 97 kilowatts, sorry, not percent, kilowatts by then. But I mean, I wasn't there long. I charged from like 40 to 80% in my Kia in like 22 minutes. It wasn't like, I thought it was going to be worse than that. But it wasn't,
which, I mean, considering you were charging at basically half speed for the car.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. So it's something, and so kudos to Lucid. I mean, we always know they have the cutting edge technology, cutting edge charging. Once it comes to stuff like this, glad they were to figure this out, because the one thing you don't want to do is have a car, spend all that money, and only get 100 kilowatts when you charge a supercharger station. So I'm glad they were to figure that out. So kudos to Lucid. Yeah. Other manufacturers out there who are doing high voltage architecture, we need to step it up too.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about what we drove this week. Joel, you look excited.
I'll let you go.
Let me start?
Because it was your baby.
So
literally, it was a baby.
So late last week, Joel and I were looking at our local Volvo dealership, and we saw that they had an EX30 that had just arrived. And so Joel worked his magic and reached out to our contact over there, because, a couple weeks ago we had the EX90 from them. And he was like, hey, A, do y'all actually have the EX30, or is it in transit? And B, if you do have it, would we be able to take it out on like Saturday? And this was like 2 days notice. Okay.
Yeah.
And the guy, he replied back and he was like, yeah, sure. That's fine. Yep. And so we got to, on Saturday, drive the Volvo EX30, one of the first ones here in the US, or at least I think it's one of the first ones. It's the first one our dealership's gotten. And man, I really liked it.
I liked it too. So I'm noticing that I believe it was Vapor Gray. Yeah. Vapor Gray seems to be the most prominent color that's coming in. So I've seen a couple people purchase their EX30s here in the US, and it seems to be most of them are the Vapor Gray. So that seems to be the color. But yeah, huge shout out to McClarty Volvo of Little Rock for on short notice letting us have that. They let us take it out, have fun with it. Had it all cleaned up for us. Really cool. So yeah, people are going to be surprised at how fast this car goes. So it's the 0 to 60. They're going to be surprised. So that's one thing that I was mostly surprised about. It looks a lot bigger in the pictures than it is in person.
It's so small.
It's small. And from a
But
boat
I
owner,
loved it.
yeah, if you have someone who's a boat owner who's saying a car is small, it's small. So if you're over 6 feet and you plan on sitting in the back seat for a while, it's going to be a little tight.
But it had plenty of room in the front.
Plenty of room in the front. Yes, that is true. But yeah, so it was sweet. It was really nice. We heard a lot of issues. We're not going to give too much away, but a lot of people said they had issues with, the tech. If you want to see the video, it's on our channel. Go take a look at it. It's the best 30 minutes of your life. And it will be the best 30 minutes of your life. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't really find something wrong with it. Just besides it's small. We had some issues with lane changing, which there it is. Sebastian figured out how to share screen. There we go. We're talking. So there it is. Not that color. Where's the Vapor Gray?
No, this is the one I want.
That's the one you want.
I want this yellow color because I said it in the video. We need more color on our roads. Dang
we do.
And the only other options are
as your thing loads forever.
There we go.
That's what we have.
A blue that's kind of a gray.
Yep.
A white. Wow.
Yeah.
It's really taking its time. A black.
And then the gray.
Which actually, it doesn't look too bad in black.
No, the black doesn't look. The black looks kind of sharp, especially with those wheels. So yeah.
Yeah, and then Vapor Gray, which is what we got.
Yeah. So yeah. We drove the maxed out one. This was top spec. We got the drive. So you couldn't get any better than that. List price was $48K, which you're thinking, hey, that's a lot for a small car, but it was maxed out. I mean, it was the twin motor. It was the performance pack on it, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. It was nice.
Yeah, the one we drove had the blue interior, which I liked. Although now seeing this, there's also a green option.
Uh-oh.
And it's like a muted green. I like it.
Yep.
I can dig it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's what the lights. We had issues. We couldn't see the ambient lighting because it was a really bright.
Because it was daytime. Yeah.
It was a really bright sunny day out too. So
there's also this nice light color too. That's like a light blue, which I think looks pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, I just was super impressed by it.
Oh wow, I do like that. Oh, I like that. Like I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, and I was super impressed by, there's some people that were dogging on the interior some, saying like the materials didn't feel good. I thought it all felt really nice.
Yeah.
There's recycled plastics all over, and you could tell like it has that recycled plastic look to it. But like for me, it fit the car. Like it made sense in the vehicle we were in, right?
Yep.
We were in a Volvo, so it's a Swedish whatever. The whole kind of thing is sustainable, blah, 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 blah. So like, yeah, throw some recycled plastic in there. Sure. And you got the seats that are the vegan leather and made of like recycled materials. You got vegan leather and the twill, stitching or twill on the top, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all of us made sense. The cockpit was nice. It was a good place to be. And it's a stinking rocket.
Yes. 3.4 seconds, 0 to 60. It doesn't play.
This little teeny tiny car that gets you to 60 in 3 points. And it, unlike most EVs that we end up getting in, like, we've driven EVs that are supposed to be that fast or similar times, right? 4 seconds, 0 to 60, whatever. This one actually puts power down.
Yeah.
Most of the EVs we're driving now.
You get that little pause and then it goes.
Or you kind of feel it roll into it like a gas car would. No, this one was like a Tesla Model 3. And
performance.
Just, pow!
Whipped you back, yes.
Which is crazy because it's a Volvo.
It's a Volvo, yeah.
And it's not even like, yes, it's the twin motor performance, but back in the day, Volvo had the performance arm, which was Polestar.
Yep.
This isn't a Polestar.
Yeah.
This is a actual bona fide Volvo.
Yeah, Volvo. Yep.
And so I just, I was excited about it when we got there because you mentioned I drive a Chevy Bolt, so I drive a smaller car.
Yep.
And so this is like, oh, this is like right up my alley. Heck yeah. And then we get in it. And I mean, literally, took 2 looks at it in person. Was like, yep, they're good. I don't even have to drive it. I'm happy.
We're good.
And, get in and you take that first look at the interior and you see the blue on the top of the seats and you're like, oh yeah, this looks good. And you get in and it's just, man, it was so good. Go watch the video because it's such an interesting, cool car.
Yeah. And I think what makes it even look bigger on the inside is the huge sun moon roof, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it wasn't a small one. It was from front to back, left to right. It was huge. And maybe you can find a good picture of it, kind of right there. You can
see,
but that it makes the car feel bigger. So if this car didn't have that, it would feel so much smaller inside there if it didn't have that. So yeah. So kudos to Volvo, kudos to McClarty, Volvo here in Little Rock for letting us get it on such short notice. But yeah, it was pretty spicy. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And then what did we drive after that, Joel?
So, yeah. So imagine driving that awesome beast and then switching gears and driving a 2024 Nissan Leaf. Yes, folks. We probably should have reversed that order because, I mean, when you drive a car like that and then you go to a Nissan, nothing to dog on the Nissan Leaf. The Nissan Leaf is what you expect it to be, a Nissan Leaf. It's the OG. It's been around forever. Not many updates to it. The interior looks like a car that you would have bought in 2018. But yeah.
What's really the Nissan, like, again, I don't have any major beef with the Nissan Leaf other than just like some little things, which we talk about it in our video, which I haven't even started editing yet. I'm sorry,
That'll be out a couple weeks. You're fine.
We got time.
I won't fire you.
We talked about in the video, it seems like Nissan has actually done some stuff to kind of work on and make the batteries last longer.
Yep.
But there's no active aero on the battery pack, and so you run into issues like with overheating if you DC fast charge too much or whatever, which it doesn't have. Well, when we drove was an SV Plus, so it actually had decent range. But still, just stuff like that. That's kind of what everyone has always ragged on the Nissan Leaf for, that, and it uses CHAdeMO still in 2025. Yep. But ultimately, it's good if you just want good, reliable, basic transportation.
Yep.
That's what it's for.
Yep.
But what's crazy is the one we drove had a sticker price on it of $39,000.
Yep.
And the EX30 that we drove was not that far off.
A base EX30 is going to be 40, 41.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, that's what we were told by the dealership. So around 40. That's, 38,000. That's Model Y price. So
yeah, that's Model Y. That's Model 3.
Model 3 Nissan Leaf. Model 3 Nissan Leaf. Nissan Leaf Equinox. So
Equinox at 35 before tax credit.
Yeah. So, but if you like EVs and you're intimidated by the tech. So I like EVs. I'm intimidated by an EV that has lots of tech. I just need something to get me 20 minutes to work and 20 minutes home. Then the Nissan Leaf is perfect for you because that's what it's meant to do. It's a commuter car. It's basic transportation. There's no frills. There's buttons. There's a radio. There's navigation. And that's about it.
And ultimately too, in 2024, 2025, I really would think there's probably not that many people that are paying MSRP for Nissan Leafs.
Yeah.
They're either getting major incentives off the top, or they're in a state like Colorado where they can do these crazy lease deals and have a Nissan Leaf for like $10 or $20 a month for 2 years and do a one pay for like $240 and call it done. Because they were doing it like no money down or whatever. Like that is basically, I feel like, who buys Nissan Leafs now. You're either doing stuff like that, or you're getting really crazy $10,000, $15,000 off MSRP, and
getting in that car for $25,000 or something like that. Yeah. Now, you did say it is coming back for 2025 and 2026, correct?
So there is a 2025 model year. It's the same as the 2024. Not anything changed.
Okay.
Allegedly, there is going to be a 2026, and it's going to be all new.
Hopefully, Nax.
People have seen it testing on roads. In camo, of course. Yep. And I saw a news article earlier saying that Mitsubishi may also be coming out with their first EV in 2026, and it's probably going to also be the new Leaf.
Just call it something else. So, yeah.
I don't know why we keep kicking the corpse of Mitsubishi down the road.
Yes.
Just put it in the ground already.
Do we even have a Mitsubishi dealership in here? I don't think we even have one.
We had one for a hot minute in Little Rock. I'm talking for like 6 months.
Yep, I remember that.
And then they closed it. They just said, never mind.
I don't even know where you would buy Mitsubishi. I don't even know if you could buy one in the States. So yeah.
I don't think there is anyone.
Totally different EVs that serve two totally different purposes. So
yeah.
Yep.
And it's like you said, we got to really start actually looking at our day and planning it better to not have, because it's like when we did the Leafy review, like we looked at it, we had an open mind, whatever, we were fine, like it, and we knew exactly what it is. It's good basic transportation. But when you drive the EX30 and then 30 minutes later drive the Nissan Leaf, you're just like, oh.
It'd be like someone saying, "Here's the keys to a Porsche. Now go drive a Honda Civic." So it'd be like, nothing to knock on the Honda Civic, but I just drove a Porsche. So yeah, I mean, it's have that comparison. It's just
Well, for me, it's what I do every time we go and review a car, and it's like, oh, I drove a Volvo EX90 this morning. Let me get back in my Chevy Bolt and drive home.
I know.
It's like, oh, I just have to sit here and remind myself my car was like 17 grand when I bought it. So
yeah. Not the price of an EX90, so yeah.
It was not the price of an EX90.
I think that's all we driven this week, haven't we?
That's all we drove this week, yeah.
That's all, yep.
So yeah, now that that's out of the way, that is a wrap for today's episode. Thank you all for plugging into the Friday Charge. Be sure to subscribe to the EV Geek Podcast on YouTube and tap that notification icon to be notified about new releases. We had some great content released recently, including our review of the Cadillac Lyric and the aforementioned Volvo EX30. I rushed that sucker out because I was too excited about it. I wanted it on the internet as soon as possible. And we have some more in the pipeline, including next week. We've got, it's next week, right? F-150 Lightning Flash on Monday.
Yep, and then towing.
And then also, we're going to have the interview of Joel Schultes about how he uses his F-150 Lightning to tow a gigantic camper.
Yep. Another announcement to make. Monday, the Lightning episode will be our 100th podcast episode.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's a little golf clap for that. So, yes, please watch the Lightning episode and help us celebrate our 100th podcast episode. So, yes.
Yeah, and if we just look out, a little bit further, we also got a review of the BMW i7 coming. We've got a review of the Blazer EV. Which was another EV that you and I were, I think, more impressed with than we expected to be.
Yep.
And then we have so much more. We've basically already got the entire month of February booked out, which is a pretty awesome feeling.
And we got some cool things already starting to line up for March as well. So.
Yep. So if you guys have any thoughts or questions, drop them in the comments below because we would love to hear from you. So long, everyone, and we will see you again on the next episode of The Friday Charge.